Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 7 of our Video Every Day in April challenge. Yes, we've made it to day 7. That is one whole week of video challenge. I'm your host, Selena Klomacki of How Only Socially Inspired, and this is my co-host, Anna Larson of Nomad About, and together we formed our joint project, Anna and Selena, which is the go-to place for website design, digital strategy, and more. Good morning, my friends.
Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready to talk about my least zone of genius, which is copy, but that there's levels to copy that we need to understand.
There are definitely levels to copy that we need to understand. So today's topic is copywriters are not necessarily copy editors. And I felt like this was an important topic because a lot of times when people hire a copywriter, they think they're getting both. And so I think where it's not the same skill set, and copywriters rarely enjoy being copy editors and vice versa. Copy editors don't really do the copywriting. They're two completely separate things. And so just wanted to have a really brief conversation where we kind of talk about what skill sets of a copywriter are and what the skill sets of a copy editor might be and where they do mesh, because there are places where they mesh together, but also how they differ greatly. So depending on what you're looking for as a business, for your copy, you know who it is that you should be seeking out to help serve you.
I think this is important, and I think this will help you understand as even a solopreneur, small business that does all the things that maybe you're like, oh, now I know what I need to outsource in the sense of, because you're like, right, I'm all the things. All right, Hannah, let's dive into it. Let's just do it. Let's get there.
All right. So I would say that the very first thing is let's talk about copywriters for just a minute. So copywriters are masters of words. What does that mean? Well, a copywriter is someone that's going to write, produce content that's going to reflect a client's brand or voice. So they're the ones who are going to take a creative idea and make it come to life. And it's usually sales oriented or persuasive is the word we like to use, where you're going to be bringing that persuasive voice to try and get the client or the customer to act in some way. That's what a copywriter actually does. Okay. Now, vice versa to that, a copy editor. Let's talk really quickly about what a copy editor does. So, a copy editor is your detail oriented, good writer, guru grammar. They're the stickler on the fine points of the language. So, they're the ones that are looking at what's being written and making sure it's factual, it's correct, it's written well, it's got all the grammar in the right place, and you know that it fits in the space that it's been created for. And that is a copy editor's place in the world. So as you can see, there is some flow over as far as the two things go, but it's not necessarily the same skill set. So there's just a few things that copywriters need to be able to do, and then things that copy editors need to be able to do. So copywriters, we already talked about the fact that copywriters have to reflect a brand or voice, right? So we need to be able to feel or see within that ideal client and understand what it is that's going to motivate them. That's part of a copywriter's job. Another one is that they need to be able to collaborate. So you're very rarely working alone. For example, Selena and I build websites, and I am the copywriter for the sites, and she's the designer. But it's not like I work in a little bubble and I write, and then she just builds the website magically around it. We have to really collaborate with each other and say, what's good user design and how did the words fit into that space? So there is that collaboration factor that a copywriter has to be able to do. You might do the same thing if you're doing a print product, right? How are my words going to look on the final product that the customer or client is going to be receiving? So you want to be able to collaborate with others in that way. It's not just all about writing anything that you want and then saying, here you go, take it, now make it beautiful for me. And then copywriters need to write in a way that can meet the style guide of a company. So oftentimes when you're hired, they will hand you a style guide that says things like We use our company name in this way. We only abbreviate it in this way. We never use these words. So a copywriter has to be able to look through that style guide, pretty much memorize it, get to know it very well, becomes best friends with it, and then write according to that company's style guide.
So you're
Now,
saying like, yo, or
yes. Well, that might be more brand or voice oriented, but it might be things like, when you refer to my company, we never say the words Joe's Coffee. It's always Joe Coffee.
right.
Don't add that S in there. Don't ever, double hyphenate here. Don't put an apostrophe, those kinds of things. And just a little hint, the copy editor's job is to make sure the copywriter actually does that.
I will
Right?
say, I want to jump in here. I have a client, and in their name, there's an and, but they use the ampersand and they never spell out the words. And that is one of the things that they had mentioned is whenever referencing us, the ampersand is actually part of our style, and we never use the word and we never use like another way to join the and, but it's always the
Yeah.
ampersand. So it's just honoring, like you said. I love that.
Yes, exactly. So that is yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about following the style guide of a company. The last thing I would say for copywriting,
Hey, look, you got a comment. I wanted to jump it in there.
my
Right?
interview in copywriting from May 21, and that's so funny. We're talking about it again. I don't know who you are, Facebook user, but thanks for joining us.
Right. I'm going to go jump in, but continue on, Anna.
Right? Okay, so the last thing I would say, at least for today, these aren't all the jobs of the copywriter, but a copywriter also has to be able to interpret creative direction and propose creative ideas. So if your client comes to you and says, I really want something that has to do with rockets in outer space, and I want you to write something that pertains to this and sell my new socks that have nothing to do with outer space, sell it to them using words from outer space. Okay, so you're going to take that and you're going to run with that creative direction. And then you're going to come back and you're going to propose creative changes, or hey client, I've researched, I've been doing a lot of work on this. There's really no connection that I can make that your audience is going to understand. What if instead of rockets in space, we instead relate it to the monkeys in the zoo? I mean, whatever, right? I'm just throwing like random things out here, but our job is to research and come up with things that make sense, things that make sense, so that when you do write them and you do connect the dots, the audience goes, I get it. And they know what you're supposed to do. Okay. That's the job of a copywriter. Now, a
Yeah.
copy editors, they proofread text in the correct errors. Okay. I'm a copywriter. I'm not a copy editor. However, as a copywriter, I rely heavily on Grammarly to help me do this. Okay. Grammarly is a great tool. I don't feel like we need to bring it up because I feel like everybody knows what Grammarly is for the most part. But Grammarly is a great
Anna Larson.
grammar.
Never assume. Never assume. Go talk while I find Grammarly in case somebody new today is like, what are you talking about? Sorry. This is our best
Okay.
friends talking to each other.
Yeah. So while a copywriter does have to be able to proofread their own text and correct some errors, you cannot expect a copywriter to catch all of the grammar errors. We are not grammar gurus like a copy editor is. We should know style and guides. We should know basic grammatical rules. That is part of our job. But if you really want something that is high quality, copy edited, you may have to hire a copy editor to make sure that it follows a very specific style guide like the AP guide or something. Copy editors may be creating layouts. So they're going to take those words, they're going to put them into that space to make sure that they look good. So a copy editor might do something like that. They also verify facts and evidence. So if I write in there about the monkeys in the zoo and how it relates to these new socks I'm supposed to be selling, this copy editor is going to come behind and say, you need to show me where you found that research. Like, is it from a reliable and verifiable source? So they're the ones that are going to back your company up with any claims that they're making. If I'm saying, ooh, this diet pill is going to help you lose 7,000 pounds in 1 week, right? They're the ones that are going to be like, where did we find that evidence? And where are those facts at? And they're the ones that are going to catch that and ask those questions. Copy editors are also going to check text for style, and they're going to rewrite for readability. Okay, so now copywriters love to write, right? Okay, we love to write. We want to tell a story. We want to share our words. We want to inspire and motivate. But sometimes that doesn't come across as readability, depending on where it's going to be at. So I would write very differently for a children's school program than I would write for, let's say, a business website. The two are very different. So readability comes into play here. What's the age group of the person that you're writing towards? What is their education level? What is it? How do they like to be? How do they best comprehend or understand what you're trying to say? And this is actually a conversation Selena and I have had quite a bit this week about readability. And so we did pull up one of my favorite tools for readability, which is the Hemingway app. So I'm going to just throw this into the stream. And yeah, so the Hemingway app is really super easy. It's free. You can just go to it, and all you do is you stick your paragraph text into, just delete what's on there currently and paste yours in. And it's going to give you a readability factor. And you can see over on the side, it says your adverbs, use of passive voice, the phrases that might have a simpler alternative, and then which sentences are hard to read and which sentences are very hard to read. And if you mouse over, you can see that it gives you suggestions. So utilize, replace it, or omit. It's too complex. Helpful, use a more forceful verb, it says. Perhaps, be bold, don't hedge. Why are you even adding that word in there? So what the Hemingway app does is it gives you other options for writing that makes it more readable, easier to understand, much more clear and concise. And this is something that's useful to both a copywriter and a copy editor, I would say. You're muted, Selena.
I got excited. Will you tell everybody about that score and why it has a big difference, where that grade score in the upper right corner?
I will. Okay. So, one of the things that very few people know is that when you are writing for public consumption, the way that people consume information is usually between a 6th and 9th grade level of as far as readability goes. 6th to 9th grade doesn't mean we're uneducated. It doesn't mean we don't know how to read or comprehend. What it does mean is that we are a society that's gotten very used to information coming quickly in short, concise sentences and in small bits. And so when you have a long paragraph, and if you were joined us a couple of days ago, and if you write with very superfluous, right? If you're using big words or large concepts and ideas and you're meshing them all together in too big of a lump, what it does is it affects that readability score, and it makes it so that it shows you how it's more difficult for the average reader to understand. Now, if you have clients that will sit and read word for word through your website or your text or whatever it is that you've given them, no big deal. Maybe that works for them. It is unlikely that that is your client base. It is more likely that your client base is skimming to some extent as they read through that text. So they're looking for keywords and highlight words, and that's how their brain is going to comprehend what it is that you're saying to them. So the Hemingway app is super helpful because it does give you that readability score. It says to you, hey, this text is probably a little too complex for what you're looking for. The nice thing is it doesn't just leave you stranded. It does actually give you some suggestions for ways that you can cut that text down and make it a little bit more understandable.
Thanks, Anna. Again, we're just referencing when you're doing website design, like what that score could mean. So, all right. Okay. Next on your, well, actually, wait, can I share your Grammarly? This is me as your bestie, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know what Grammarly is, this is Grammarly. And you can add it as a Chrome extension. It's just like your spell checker, blah, blah, blah. And this is that tool. So go look it up if you don't know. And I'm like, oh, look, they changed their logo. Or actually, I mean, it's in support of Ukraine, right? But normally it's green. So if you're looking for this color, it's normally the color where my mouse, you don't see the mouse. Anyway.
Yeah. So just one thing to add, Grammarly does have a free option that gives you some basic grammar checks. The paid version, I think, is $30 a month. If you are writing a lot, it is very worth it. It is worth it to have the paid version. It will go dive deep. And for people such as myself that are not as detail oriented when I write, I love the writing process, the grammar. Sometimes I struggle with, so I appreciate the extra help and attention that Grammarly gives me for being detail oriented in that way.
Guys, me all the time.
Like Confessions of a Copywriter is what I feel like I'm on right now. Right?
That's hysterical. By the way, that's Moira that actually sent us in that comment. So good morning, Moira. Thanks for joining Anna and I.
Yay. Oh, look, we have another one. I learned about the Hemingway app only last week. Feel like as self-professed grammar guru and someone who loves to write, I've been living in home. Yes, right?
No, for sure.
Yes. Hemingway app is fantastic. So between the two, Hemingway app and Grammarly, you really are set up for success. Two very useful tools for either a copywriter or a copy editor, to be able to really perfect their craft. So that's kind of where we're at. Copywriting is not copy editing and vice versa. So as you can see, I would say closing thoughts, both of these skill sets need to be able to mesh together to some extent. But when you hire a copywriter, do not expect them to be able to be that grammar guru, 100% copy editor. That is not their job necessarily. You'll want to make that really clear when you're interviewing or talking to copywriters.
Yeah, I'm just glad I'm not one that stresses me out. Like it really does. So I'm glad I know people. And I'm glad I know people. So I guess if that's it for today, Anna, we're gonna say goodbye. Thank you for those that have joined us live. We so appreciate you. We want you to have a great, fabulous day. We'll see you tomorrow. We are talking about, I know, our website domain's free.
Good question.
What is that about? So we will catch you guys later.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you later. Bye.